Good afternoon, happy stampers. How is everybody doing today? My name is Judi Anderson from judistamps.com, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I live in the US. So I have had so many requests for this series, and I am just going to make sure I am on. So give me just a second. First of all, I am streaming on StreamYard. So if you are watching on Facebook, if you don't mind giving StreamYard permission to post your comments to me, I would appreciate it. That way it will come up on my screen and tell me what you are saying to me. So first of all, I would like to welcome everybody. Whether you're watching live or on replay, I do appreciate you watching my classes, and I hope that you appreciate what I am sharing with you. So if you're watching live, please say hello, come in, and if you're watching on replay, please comment replay in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you are alerted every time I come live. So once again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and I hope you enjoy this Back to the Basics series. So this Back to the Basics series, we're going to go from paper cutting to stamping, and this is a great review for you veteran stampers. And for those that are new, it is a good way to learn some of the basics. So hello, who is on? Let me see. Eineke, how are you? So you are coming from the Netherlands. So welcome. It's evening there. I think you're about 9 o'clock, right? And hello to Patricia. And let me see who else is there. Irene. So welcome everybody. So today I am starting with paper cutting. And a lot of you say, well, I cut my paper and then I have all this waste. So I'm hoping to alleviate some of that with you today. So I'm going to be cutting and showing you things on our basic white cardstock and our basic black. I am going to use these pieces in next week's video, some of the pieces in next week's video, when we go to the next step and start talking about our stamps. So let's get started, okay? I'm going to flip you around, and here we go. I am going to lower you for just a second, so hopefully there is not much of a glare. Now, I am talking in inches, so imperial numbers, not metric. I'm going to maybe turn off this light. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. We don't get a reflection. This is our paper trimmer. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. It does hold a full 12-inch piece of designer series paper or cardstock. We have this cutting guide here. You get a cutting and a scoring blade on here. The light gray one is your scoring. The dark gray one is your cutting blade. Both of them stay on here. Both of them get out of the way. So if you're using your scoring blade, you just push your cutting blade all the way up and you can score your entire piece of paper. The same thing goes with your cutting blade. Your scoring blade is out of the cutting surface, so you can use your cutting blade and cut the entire piece. A great feature is this fold out arm, and it does go to 17¼ inches here. And what I love about this, you get a full 6-inch measurement here. So you're 5½, and if you're cutting cardstock, you're 12 by 12½ at 6 inches. When you close this arm, it does, I'm going to show you the back of it. It does slide in here and it clips in. So it doesn't come out until it's not real hard to pull it open. But what's really nice is when you put your cardstock in, so I'm going to just put a piece in right now, and you put it up to that little ledge here, that is 6 inches. So you don't have to worry if you're on the 6-inch mark. So if you're cutting at 6 inches, you just put it right up there. Another great feature of our paper trimmer is you can measure on the right side also. So when I do some of my smaller cuts, when you watch my videos, I will cut 1.25 to 1.5 inches on this side. Why do I do that? Well, when you hold your cardstock here and you want to do 1 inches, you're trying to hold it there and hold it and get that arm down. And as you can tell, that 1 inch is under that arm. However, if you go to the other side, you're right up there and you don't have to worry about your paper moving. You're against this lip right here. You have these marks here. And people go, well, what are those marks here? Well, this is the 1/2 inch line, so you know you can line it up to there also. The same thing on this side. The 1/2 inch is this little mark here. 3/4 is to the other side. So you can use these guides down here also. Another great feature is this has got a coating on it, so it will not wear off. Okay, you can take your arm off just by gently pulling it out and up. I take rubbing alcohol or WD-40 and wipe it down if I get adhesive, because you know when you have a piece and it's a little bit too big and you put adhesive on it, you put it in there and it sticks. So that is a great feature, just to put it in. You just, okay, slide it in that side, slide it in this side. I just pull it out just a little bit. I'm trying to show you on the camera. To get your blades off, there is a little area right in here. And what you do is you just take your blade, and if you pull up on it, okay, it's not going to work. It's because I'm trying to hold it under the camera. So you hold it and you just pull up. Let me find it. It's right here. I can feel it. I am just not hitting it. Come on. It's right there. Okay. Just because I'm on live, it's not going to come up. There we go. It lifts off to replace it. Now, you cannot buy new scoring blades, but you can buy new cutting blades. It's right here. Okay. Come on. It is really, there we go. It's just, I have a little bit of a glare. So you can see that little lip. To put these on, so if you like your scoring blade, and that, now they're on. Okay, if you like to cut, when you cut, if you pull, you might want to switch these two. I'm a pusher, not a puller. It doesn't matter because you have the marks on both sides. We do also have centimeters on here, up here along this line. Those are centimeters. So if you're watching one of our favorite demonstrators from overseas and they work in centimeters, you can work along with them and figure it out. So they may say 2 centimeters, which is just a little bit smidge over 3/4 of an inch. We're going to talk about those lines. So let me get really close here. Okay, now I may wiggle a little bit. These little lines, those are 16ths. Your next larger line, so that one there, this is 1/4, this is 1/2. You'll see your 16th there, your 1/8 inch there. So, and your 1 inch here. So that is how you line up. So I'm going to try taking a piece of paper. So at a 16th, I'd be there. At an 1/8 of an inch, I'd be here, 16th of an inch, right to the outside of that channel, that gray line. That's 2/16 or an 1/8. Then we go to 3/16, 4/16, which is 1/4 inch. I had a customer years ago, and she'd tell me, just tell me how many tick marks. So I'd have to count the 16ths for her. You could take a Stampin' Blend if you want, and you could mark on here the measurements that you use most often, like 4 1/4. You might put a little red dot on there, so you know that's your 4 1/4, your 5 1/2. So you don't have to look every time until you get used to that. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Hello, Debbie. How are you? So it's just past 11 and you're doing well enough. Awesome. Well, I am doing fine too, Eineke, and I am so happy you are joining us so late in the evening. So we're going to start cutting. Here in the US, our paper is 8.5 by 11. Our standard card size, when it's folded, is 4.25 by 5.5. So each sheet of cardstock will create 2 cards. When I do card making, I do my scoring first. So I will line this up. I'm going to make the most popular card cutting here in the US. I know it's different in Europe, and I'm going to show that also. So I want to score at 4.25. So I line it up to 4.25 here. I push my cutting blade out, and I take my scoring blade, and I just run it over twice. That is going to make, ooh, can you see that line? Yep, right there. See that line? It's going to make that line. We're going to turn our paper, and we're going to cut it at 5.5. Okay, so we're going to take our cutting blade. We've now made 2 card bases. Now we can also make our card bases with the same measurement, but this time we are going to score it at 5.5. So just the opposite of what we just did. So we want to move our cutting blade out of the way. We want to score it at 5.5, turn our paper, and cut it at 4.25. Okay, so you're going to see that our card bases are going to end up the same way. Now we have scored, and when you score, you have a valley on one side, which is the indentation, and this side we have a mountain. And the easiest way to remember how to fold your cardstock is, I call this the mountain and the valley. We always want the mountain in the middle of our card, so we're going to fold towards that bump. And then we're going to take our bone folder and just burnish that. And you may say, well, Judi, why do you want the mountain in the middle? That is because you've already stressed your paper out, and it's less likely to tear along that edge if you do that. So here is one of our cards. Here's the other one that we cut. We scored it at 4.25 and cut at 5.5. Fold with the mountain in the middle. Use our bone folder. Now you're going to see that both these cards are the same exact size. This card opens this way. These type of cards are more popular overseas. And I think it has to do with the size of their cardstock and the best, most efficient way to cut their cards. So I use this if I'm going to be wrapping a ribbon around the entire card, okay, because it's easier. This way we can do and you can do this could open up this way, so it's vertical, or horizontal this way. This one is the same way. You can do it horizontal and it opens up. Most cards open in this landscape and open this way. Okay, so what I do to make some of my card making go quicker, because I make quite a few cards, I will go through and I will score a bunch of cards at cardstock at 4.25, and then I will score a bunch at 5.5. I cut them at 4.25, and then I cut the other ones at 5.5. I store them like this in envelopes, so I have card bases ready for my classes or when I am doing my card making. I also keep a stack, I'll put this here, a stack of pre-cut card bases right here. Okay, my most popular ones are this style card. I will fold this style in half because it does not quite, it would fit in my holder if I didn't have the ends. And on the ends, that's where I keep my cut pieces, which we're going to be doing next. So when you layer your cards and have what we call mats, So you have more than one layer on a card. And let me grab a card here. So it would be like this card here. Well, that's not a good example. I'm looking for one that has a full mat. Okay, here we go. This is a card I did recently. So this is our card base here. And I do that with the colored cardstock also. But then we have this mat on the front. These are normally a 1/4 inch smaller than the area that you're going to be putting the mat on. Okay, so that means it's 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that is with one layer. So how I cut those is I will cut 4 inches, move it out of the way, 4 inches, and I sit and I do this when I'm watching TV. I do have a larger cutter. So when I am cutting for classes, I cut more than one piece at a time. Then I turn it so it's 4 inches, and you have this 1/2 inch strip left. Don't throw this away, you guys. When you have those small sentiments and you need those small pieces of paper, I keep these, and I keep them even with the colored cardstock. So now we're going to turn our paper and we're going to cut it at 5 1/4. Okay, and we're just going to push this up and it's going to be at 5 1/4. And you have this smaller piece. I saved that too. So you're going to get 4 of these pieces out of your cardstock. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this real quick. 5 1/4. And you can see this goes rather quickly. So if you have some of these, and you don't have to have a whole stack, you might want to do 2 or 3 pieces so you have some ready. So when you're ready to create, you don't have to worry about cutting your white cardstock. I keep a stack of those in with my card bases. The next size we're going to do would be the next layer down, which would be a 1/4 inch smaller in both ways. So it would be 3 3/4 this way. And I always cut that lengthwise. So go 3 3/4. And then we have an inch left over. Keep that piece also. And then we're going to go to 5 inches. And we're going to cut this down to 5. Okay, we'll have an inch left over, which you can use on another card. I'm not going to cut the other 2 pieces because you get that. My next one is going to be cutting 10 gift cards or tags, not gift cards, but tags from my cardstock. So we want to cut 10 gift tags. And I'm using black because I will make some tags next week. And I'm going to show you some for gifts, for bags, you can put them on cards. So we want to cut 10 pieces from here. So we're going to cut one strip that's at 2 1/2 inches, another strip that's at 2 1/2 inches, and then we will have 3 1/2 inches left because 2 1/2 and 2 1/2 is 5, and 3 1/2 is 8 1/2. So that's the full length. We're going to turn our 3 1/2 to the side, and we're going to cut 2 1/2 inches. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the 10-inch mark, and we're going to have an inch left over that we're going to put in our scrap bin. So we have 4 already. I'm going to take my 2 1/2 ones, and I'm cutting 2 at a time now. So I'm going to put this to the 3 1/2 because remember, we've already cut it at 2 1/2, and so we wanted 3 1/2. So we're going to go 2, 4, and 6. So we have 6 tags, okay, or 6 layers for our card fronts. Now we can cut all the same size. So those are going to be tags. I want, because I don't want to stamp on black, right? So I want to layer on top of it. So now we're going to go in the reverse. We've got it 2.5 by 3.5. And so now we need it 2.25 by 3.25. So we're going to take this and 2.25. And I'm going to do 2.25 on this one. And that's going to leave us quite a bit left because we've cut a 1/2 inch less off. So we're going to do 3.25. But instead of 3.25, I want to make my border a little bit smaller. So I am actually going, so this is the 3.25, and 1/4 is 4/8. I want to go to 5/8. So that is this line, the bigger line between the 1/2 and the 1/4. So we're going to take that up there. Okay, so we're going to, 3/8. I was thinking 16. So we're going to turn this, and remember, instead of doing it at 3.25, we did it 3 3/8. So we want to do this at 2 3/8. So I'm going to cut all of these 4 at 2 3/8. So it's only 1/8 of an inch smaller. And you can make your borders really at any size you want, you guys. Sometimes I just go a 1/16 smaller than the 1/4, and it doesn't seem like it would make a big difference, but it does. So I cut those, and I'm going to show you the difference on those mats. We're going to take these 2.25 strips, and we're going to cut them at 3.25. So we're going to have 6 of those. So once again, we were able to get 10 tags. So, and I could just make this a tag this size. Your tags can be any size you want. I'm just showing you an efficient way to cut your paper so you have very little waste. Okay, so I'm going to take these in here. I'm going to take this black one and this black one. So this is a 1/4 inch difference. And see how we have that big border around the outside? And then I've got this one, which is a little bit bigger. So my border around the outside edge is going to be a little bit smaller. So it's just a peak. Now, a hint here. If you do your tag and you want to write on the back, you're going to need 2 pieces of basic white. Okay, I'll do all my writing on the front. So I'm going to keep these here. And we are next Wednesday, when we talk about stamping and the different types of stamps, we're going to make some tags. I do not waste anything. Now, I did want to cover I should grab another piece of white. Sometimes I do 5 by 3.5 instead of 5 by 3.25. And you can get 5 pieces out of here. So I'm going to show you. Instead of going the 3.25 this way and then cutting 5 this way, what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to cut the 5 inches off. Okay, because, 3.5. We have 5 inches. Okay, we already have our 3.5 here. So I am going to lift this up. We're going to turn this. We already have our 3.5, so we need our 5 inches. So there's no definite rule what size your mats have to be. And I'm going to cut this one at 5 inches. So I'm going to show you what scrap we have left. That's a scrap. So we have 2 pieces here already. I'm going to turn this. We already have our 5 inches. So now we want our 3.5 inches. So we're going to go 3.5, 3.5, and 3.5. So if we had cut it the other way, we would have had a lot of scraps left over, and we would have only had 4 pieces. But by cutting your paper that way, look at that. We have 5 mats instead. Okay? Now, cutting 12 by 12 paper. I forgot to get some scrap paper, so let me grab a piece here. Okay, this is one from one of our suites, and when you are cutting 12 by 12, I always think of the most efficient way to cut your paper. If it's directional, you want to look at both sides of your paper, you guys. Okay, so if you're cutting this way and you're going to have a pretty big piece off, do you want it all blue or do you want it all the different colors? So that's going to make a difference. Plus, if this is directional, on which way you cut your paper. When I cut my 12 by 12, I always think of 3, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 6s. So if you're going to cut a mat that measures 4 by 5 1/4, I always think, okay, 5 1/4 and 5 1/4 is 10 1/2. 12 minus 10 1/2 is 1 1/2. So I decide on the back side, which way do I want that 1 1/2 going? Do I want that 1 1/2 going in this direction, or do I want all the colors? So I would take my paper and I would cut it. At the end here is at 1 1/2, and I would cut it. I'm not going to cut this paper because I don't have a project in mind for it right now, and I don't want to cut it. Sorry. So I would cut the 1 1/2, knowing that then I would do, or you could cut it at 5 1/4 and 5 1/4 again. Okay, so when you do that, let me see if I have a piece. Okay, I have a smaller piece here. I'll cut this one. So if I have 5 1/4 and 5 1/4, let's just say this is 5 1/4 by 12. If I turn my paper and I cut it at 4 inches, I will get 3 of those mats. So out of a single 12 by 12 sheet of designer series paper, you can get 6 card fronts. Okay, I will cut 2 by 2. Now I have, is this a 2-inch? Yep. So here's a 2-inch strip. Whether I use those for down the side of a card, or if I do a card like this, where I use 2 by 2 squares, by cutting it in 2-inch strips, I can get most from my paper. Okay. I will cut 1-inch strips. So you just need to think when you cut your paper, take a minute and don't just cut into it. I have started cutting my cardstock in my videos by request. You guys have requested that because you guys say that you waste so much paper and you have a lot of papers left over. And if you look at my scraps here, here's another 2-inch strip. This one I also do 1 1/2-inch strips because 1 1/2 inches divided across will give me 6 pieces. But if I am just doing a couple cards, like when you guys make cards, you don't probably make as many of them as I do. So I think, okay, I want 4 inches, like in this card here. If this was 12 by 12 paper, I knew the white mat was 4 inches. This was 3 3/4 inches. I would cut the 3 3/4 inches off my 12 by 12, and then I cut the different widths. Okay, because otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to cut a 3/4 inch strip. You're going to get 2 pieces, and then you'll have a piece like this left over. Then you're going to cut, okay, now I need let me see, this was 2.5 inch strip. You're going to cut a 2.5 strip by 4 inch strip, and you're going to have all this paper left. So it'd be better, because all these pieces are the same length, to cut your paper at the longest length first and then cut your little pieces up. You will get less waste out of your paper. And make sure you pay attention to the back of your papers also, for those, for those that are going in a direction like this. So when I cut this paper, I made sure I didn't cut it so I only had yellow left. I wanted all those colors left because I can cut this and use this on a card, and in fact I did. Okay, so that was paper cutting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So Eineke, you said that, yes, the Hues of Happiness is an awesome paper. I need to raise this. I don't like looking up or down at my camera. That is one of my favorites also. I'm on my second pack of it, in fact. So let me see. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to give you a little bit of time here. So I'm going to do a little recap. We learned about the paper trimmer and how to use it. When I do my scoring, if I have a lot of cards, so like if you're doing Christmas cards or thank you cards, you may want to use your Simply scoreboard for all your scoring first. I find that I'm a little bit more accurate on that because and we learned how to measure on there. We learned how to use the arm on there, the scoring blade, the cutting blade. We learned how to cut for 2 different types of cards. We learned about mats. And remember that your mats are normally a 1/4 inch difference, but you can make them any size but different. Sometimes I do an 1/8 of an inch. Sometimes I do 3/16. Sometimes I do over a 1/4 inch. So if I want a wide border, I was looking real quick to see if I had, oh, you know what? I do. I have right here on this card. So I have a very small border here going around this card. So that was actually 3/16 instead of a 1/4 inch. So it's a little bit smaller. I don't like quite an 1/8. I think that's a really slim. And I'm going to be giving you some more paper tips and paper saving tips in the future. Oh, you know what? I did forget one card base, but I will cover that next week. I'll start with that one. So I show you a paper saving trick that my clients just love when they learn this trick. And I'll start off with that next week. So until we meet again, everybody, happy stamping and thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.